Welcome to Great Taste on KRUU 100.1 FM, the solar-powered voice of Fairfield, Iowa. I'm Steve Boss, and we are coming to you live from Hy-Vee's Club Room. And this show is all about farmers markets. Farmers markets, in case most of you don't know, which I bet you don't know. And this information is care of Jan Swinton, our wonderful hometown harvest coordinator. The Fairfield Farmers Market is the second highest revenue yielding farmers market in the state of Iowa, next to Des Moines. Now, as anyone who's familiar with population knows, Fairfield is not anywhere close to the population of Des Moines, Iowa. So congratulations, that's amazing. Before we get to our fantastic producers and start to talk with them about everything that's in store for this year's market. And by the way, even if you're not in Fairfield and listening to the show, there are farmers markets all over the country. But Iowa, again, has the distinction, had the distinction of being number one per capita. Number two, did we lose out to somebody? Number two after Vermont in the number of farmers markets per capita to population. So we've got to get back to number one because, we got to do that. I'm going to make sure that Jan Swinton has that as her assignment for this year to do that. Anyway, before we get into the farmers markets, Emily Rose Shaw is here. She is our personal health coach, and we're really excited to have her every week talking about how we can improve our health in very simple, easy ways. So the last 2 weeks actually, we've been talking about G-bombs, which is the terminology for greens, which anyone who's been eating and at the farmers market the last number of months knows we've got a lot of greens, and they're really delicious and very tender these days. But we're going to switch to another letter, right, Emily?
Yes, that's right. We've been talking about greens, which is the first letter of the acronym GBOMS, which was developed by Dr. Joel Fuhrman, a world-famous family physician. And now we're going to move on to the next letter, which is B for beans. And we're going to also, there's so much to say about beans, we're going to also do it in two different shows. So today's the first show on beans. And beans are part of the legume family. And so that also includes lentils and peas, and they're all extremely beneficial, all of them. So everything from, black beans to different kinds of lentils like red lentils, to split peas and black-eyed peas. So a huge range of delicious things we can try.
Okay, so we all know one of the effects that beans have on most people. So why are beans so healthy, though? Couldn't resist.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But beans are extremely healthy. They are a complex carbohydrate, which is great for sustained energy, and also protein. They're a great protein source for vegans, for vegetarians, really for all different kinds of diets. They are full of fiber and resistant starch, which means that they're great for, they're like anti-diabetes. They release the sugars very slowly over time. And they're a great weight loss food because they keep you really full and satisfied for a long period of time. And they are also, because of the soluble fiber, they reduce cholesterol. And they also have shown to reduce risk for heart disease in lots of studies, and cancer. Cancer is a big one. Actually, if you were to eat 2 or more servings of beans, lentils, or peas in a week, there's actually been studies that prove that you could reduce your risk of colon cancer by up to 50%. So beans are really a really great superfood you can buy in any grocery store. They have B vitamins, iron, folate, calcium, so you really can't go wrong with them.
Now, back to the other topic. Some people do have trouble, though, digesting beans, right?
Yes.
I mean, there are side effects, right?
There can be side effects. It varies from person to person, but the reason for that is because beans have a complex sugar called oligosaccharides. And we don't have the enzyme in our stomachs or our digestive tract to digest them. So actually those compounds, they actually pass through to our colons largely undigested, and our healthy bacteria in our colon is actually what eats those complex sugars, and that can create the digestive distress that I think you're referring to.
Now, one person I know, Rick Bayless, actually, who's a very famous Mexican chef, he says the only way around that is just eat more beans, because the more you eat, the easier it will become to digest them. Is that generally true?
Yeah. Luckily, one of the easiest strategies to make beans more digestible is to slowly integrate them into your diet, little by little. Up to, around 3 cups of dry cooked beans a week is what the guidelines are for ultimate benefits. So you can, increase it gradually. There's a number of other things you can do. You can take a enzyme like Beano or Beanzyme, which really helps. One great preparation method is to soak beans from anywhere from overnight to 48 hours. If you're going to do it for 48 hours, I'd recommend changing the water. But the longer they soak, the more digestible they're going to be. So that's a great thing. And also, it reduces the cooking time. If you get into the habit of soaking them overnight, then that's a great strategy as well. In macrobiotic cooking, an ancient technique is to put a little strip of kombu seaweed in with them cooking, because that does contain an enzyme to help you digest them. So that's another strategy. Soybeans are a very popular, increasingly popular, and they're considered to be one of the hardest beans to digest. So I recommend trying a product called tempeh. Tempeh is fermented, which means it has some healthy, bacteria in it that can help. It actually increases the absorption of the nutrition as well. So that's another tip. Sprouting is a whole nother area that can be a little tricky, but there's all kinds of instructions on how to try that online. And adzuki beans are actually one of the easiest beans to digest. So you might try that as well. And then adding things like ginger or some spices can help with digestion, as well as trying to eat beans with a probiotic food like sauerkraut or kimchi.
I think all those are great suggestions. I think that most people probably don't have trouble in terms of feeling bad when they eat beans. It's just the other effect, the flatulence effect. And you know what? If you're not around anybody else, who cares? I love beans so much, so it's so great, to do it. Now, I think this is a really important point. What kind of beans? I mean, beans are everywhere. Dried beans, canned beans, frozen beans. What's the best thing for us to buy for our health when we're working with beans in the kitchen?
Absolutely, I would say that the very best kinds of beans to buy are dry beans in your bulk section in your grocery store. They're the freshest. I think they taste the best. They last a really long time. They're a great value. When you're buying bulk anything, you're saving money on the packaging. So for some even organic dry beans, they run about $2 something a pound. So they're a great value. And then I would just recommend they can be a little bit, take longer to cook. So if it's just about getting in the habit of soaking them before you go to bed, and that reduces the cooking time, like I said before. The second best would be frozen. Now, there's not too many frozen beans. There's lima beans, which are really delicious. I recommend trying lima beans. They are sold frozen, but there's not a very big variety. But it's a convenient option. And then the last option is canned beans. I would say the last option because a lot of times they'll put extra sodium in there, so you have to kind of watch the salt. And also a lot of cans have BPA, which can kind of leach into the food, which you don't want. But you can find BPA. I recommend organic beans, and even some varieties, some brands will have the kombu seaweed in there. So that will increase the digestibility as well.
I think really when I look at recipes, and I have to say that this probably isn't fair, but I do it anyway. If I see somebody using a canned bean, I just toss the recipe. I don't even use it, because you've got to have enough time. And I think Matt Steigerwald made this point last week on the show. Matt, who's the chef at Lincoln Cafe in Mount Vernon, said, take some time to cook. You don't need to use canned beans or can this or can that. Take some time to cook, because that's what's going to be important for you and for your family, and I absolutely agree with him. Now, one thing we haven't talked about is fresh beans, because, for example, right now in my refrigerator I have some fava beans that are fresh, and fresh beans are terrific.
Well, I would say that would actually be the number one, fava bean. That's true. There's that, and even like different kinds of peas. We think of those as being more like a vegetable, but those have all the, some of the same nutritional benefits as well. So yeah, I definitely think those are good.
Okay, B is for beans. Emily Rose Shaw, EmilyRoseShaw.com, and she is that means everybody's personal health coach. Thanks, Emily.
Thank you very much.
Tom, do you want to ask Emily a question? Yes, we can do that. We can do that separate from our little show too. We have a little show that's I probably haven't even told anybody about it, which is kind of silly, and that is Emily's little insert is running separately on Crew several times a week. So if you want to hear it again because you liked it so much, or you missed it, which if you missed it, I'm not sure how since you're listening to this broadcast. But anyway, you can listen to Emily separately, or you just like her voice, whatever.
Emily, I've noticed that the proteins, a lot of pea protein appears for people who don't like dairy protein, but they don't seem to have any other legume for that. Does the pea have the highest protein, or is it easily digestible, or easily the flavor? Why is it they use so much of it as a replacement?
Peas.
Pea protein.
Pea protein.
I think pea protein is kind of on the up and up as people are looking for simply different varieties of protein. People have more of an interest in trying plant protein, and because beans have a lot of protein, that is something that you see more and more on the market. If it is a matter of taste, you can mix it with different things to make delicious, smoothies. I have a protein powder that is a mix of hemp protein and pea protein, actually cranberry protein. And so it's I didn't know that you could extract the cranberry protein, but I guess you can. And all through those together actually taste quite delicious. The brand is Sun Warrior. You can find it online. So there's really, you'll see more and more in the market, pea protein, but also things like hemp, cranberry, lots of different ones. Yeah.
All right. So one more question for Emily, and then we have to move on to our farmers market.
This is a question you said, and I've heard this for years, that it's less of a problematical with whatever the nameless problem that we aren't naming is if you soak the beans. And the question I have is, doesn't that leach out a lot of the food value? And everybody always says no, but I can't imagine how that would be the case.
Very interesting question. I'm going to be fascinated to hear this.
Actually, as far as I know, I think that when you soak beans, what really kind of comes off the bean is the starch, and that is really the culprit in the digestibility of the bean. So as far as I know, you're really not you're not losing a lot of the vitamins and the minerals if you're soaking them, especially if you soak them in room temperature water before you go to bed. I think that's fine. There is something I've heard of called a hot soak method, which you're basically boiling water on the beans for 5. Yeah, it doesn't take as long. So that is another strategy if if you forget to soak your beans before you go to bed, that could be another strategy. But as far as I know, with the nutritional value, I don't think you're really losing anything, just the starch, which you want to try and get rid of anyway.
Some people put baking soda in the water, a little bit of baking soda. That will help soften the beans, but that will probably leach more vitamins out of the beans than straight water because of the component. And I don't know the chemical reason for it, but I'm pretty sure that happens. All right. Thank you so much.
And next week, we're going to go over some delicious ways to add them to your diet. So stay tuned. Suspense.
I love that. I'm just on the edge of my seat all the time, trying to see that. You're listening to Great Taste on KRUU 100.1 FM, the solar-powered voice of Fairfield, Iowa. I'm Steve Boss, and this is our annual Farmers Market show, and I'm really thrilled to have all of these growers and their helpers here with us, because these are as far as I'm concerned, these are the heroes of our community. I mean, there are a lot of heroes, but these are definitely some of the heroes of our community who are helping us eat really great every single day, and if we take advantage of what they have available for us. So what I want to do is I want to get a little bit of insight into what the farmers market is going to be about this year and some of the exciting things that are happening. And I'd like to start off with Jan Swinton, just because Jan has an overview because she works in 13 counties around Iowa. And I want you to say some really great things about the Fairfield Farmers Market so you can get yourself into trouble with the other counties.
Hardly wait. Okay, I'm actually traveling all the counties right now checking out schools. And we had 19 farmers markets in our 12 counties last year, and we're going to have 19 again, but 2 have dropped and 2 other ones have added. So it's variety, and we stay about the same. So that looks good. One of the big things about the Fairfield market is that it's an all-winter market. And what I just love about being down here in the winter market is there's fresh food all winter. They have a lot of the growers, and I think everybody in the row here has hoop houses. And so they've got a lot of, especially the salad greens and cherry tomatoes and that sort of thing all winter long. So that really enhances what we can get from the market. There's also a lot of the unusual greens because there are so many vegetarians in this community. The kales and the Swiss chards and those kinds of things are really dominant in the winter markets as well. It tends to be a cold weather vegetable. The thing that I love about this time of year, and I know Kim has some right now, and Steve too, is the root vegetables that have been growing all winter. They grow really, really, really slow in the ground in the winter, and so the beets are just the sweetest ever, and the carrots, extremely sweet this time of year. And so it's like after that first frost, the apples all get real sweet. Well, this is that cold growing season. It makes them really sweet. So there's some really great stuff at the market right now.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever eaten better in a winter than I ate this winter. It was just outrageous, actually, terrific. And since you were talking about unusual things, let's start with Kim Keller, because you have been growing some really interesting microgreens.
We have. This is something new. We have a greenhouse, a small greenhouse that we start our plants in. And I thought, well, the stuff in the high tunnel wasn't growing fast enough, so maybe we'd mess with the microgreens. And you can plant them 1 week, and then they're ready in like 7 to 10 days for harvest. So we've been experimenting. We've I think this week we're going to have some broccoli greens and arugula greens, and then some spicy salad green mixes in the microgreens. And so I'm always looking for different ones to work with, and we're starting different ones all the time.
And they're actually really fun. That's the other thing about it. You know, what I did the other day was, for example, I was remembering what Emily said. Oh, you know, if you're making a sandwich or if you're making a wrap, just throw some greens in, no matter what, right? So I'm trying to be healthy, and so all I did, I made some. They were like a little quesadilla, and so I just tossed some of the microgreens on top.
They're little mini greens, so they're easy to toss into something like that, and add to your health too. And
extremely flavorful. That's another thing. So we'll get back to you because I want to ask you some more questions about that. But one of the things that I want to do is I want to talk to Anna Victoria Braun, who's the market promoter, because I want to ask you some of the things that are coming up for the market this year.
First and foremost, we're really excited that Fairfield Parks and Rec is going to be joining us at the market on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. They are going to be providing fitness fun in the park for kids, and they're going to be there all of May, and if things go well, they'll keep coming back to be with us. Also, Fenwick's, the toy shop in town, is going to be hosting game day every second Saturday of the month at the farmers market. Well, they'll have outdoor games for everyone to come and join in, and people are also invited to bring their own toys or games that they might want to use at the market. And as usual, we will feature the very best Fairfield has to offer as far as our artists that enrich us with their music.
That's great. And speaking of music, Tom Allen's here. Tom Allen is our resident musician, and I understand that you have some fun food songs for us.
Yeah. And I just want to mention that Anna Victoria and I just talked today, and I'm on for May 11th, everybody. So see you out there with an apple in your mouth. Okay.
Shameless plug. Okay.
Yeah, shameless plug. Okay. And these are some very fun little, there are many diets that are chosen by many different kinds of people, including various kinds of animals. And so these are about various little variations on the food and diet situation. They were written by Laura Marie Leakley, who was a friend of mine in a cooperative house I lived in Madison many years ago. Here we go. My sister Letty grew hair like spaghetti, she did. So whenever she wanted a snack, she just rolled some down and took a bite, she did. Okay.
Okay.
And we're not done. Here we go.
We're not? We're not done?
Okay. That's the first of three. Okay. Tiny little woodworm eating through the wood. Surely all that sawdust won't do you any good. Heavens, little woodworm, you've eaten all the chairs. So that's why poor old granddad is sitting out on the stairs.
I'm trying to put that together with the farmer's market.
We're on diets, right? Different diets. Okay, so here we go. My uncle roasted a kangaroo. He gave me the gristly end to chew. Now, was that a very nice thing to do, to give me the gristly end to chew?
Absolutely not. Now, were you just reading or are you playing music?
Well,
I'm so confused.
yeah, we are all confused in this world because it's such a turbulent place. This is the garden song.
I guess those were just rhymes then, right?
Yes. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All I need is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rains come tumbling down. Everybody, inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All I need is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rains come tumbling down.
And I think the rains are tumbling down because I can hear them. Thank you, Tom. You have more later? Okay, well, do you know that tomato song that John Denver used to sing? That was like unbelievable. What's the name of that song? Yeah, that's an awesome song. You know what's that? Nothing about does anybody know that song? About tomatoes? I can't think of it right now, but anyway, it's darn good.
Couple more things. This year, we are celebrating the 32nd birthday of the Fairfield Farmers Market. And
It's almost as old as I am.
and on May 18th, we're actually going to have a birthday celebration. And one of the founding fathers of the farmers market, who is still among us, is going to be doing the cake cutting during our ceremony at the farmers market. So please come out and celebrate this happy occasion. And as Tom mentioned, he's going to be performing, and I'm also open and booking performers right now for the season. So if you're listening and you know you're good and you'd like to share your gift with us, bring it. Email me at fairfieldsfarmersmarket@gmail.com.
All right, thank you. All right, Barb Grohalva, back to the basics, right? And for me, the one basic that I love is what?
Popcorn.
Right, Barb's popcorn, unbelievable, unbelievable. But you do a lot more than that.
Yes, we do. We so far this year we have about 120 rows of greens planted that are coming through, if they don't get drowned. And then we have close to 600 pounds of potatoes planted, which are getting ready to break through right now, and about 70 pounds of onions. So we pretty much have all of our cooler weather crop planted. So now we're just waiting for it to warm up.
Boy, and you grow some very interesting varieties of things. I mean, there were some squashes there last year that were just really, really different.
Yeah, we had quite a few different things last year. The Cushaw squash was a good one. And we just do a lot of varieties of pumpkins and Hubbard squash and the winter squash. So we have a big variety of what we plant.
Now, what's the secret to that popcorn? I got to go back to that. We're going to have some popcorn, by the way, a little bit later.
I think the secret is because we do everything by hand. We go out and harvest it by hand. We crank it with an old antique crank and let it dry out in the sun and get it down to a moisture level of 12 to 13%. So I think it's all in just the hands-on harvesting of it.
Oh, I want to say, and I've told you this before, I don't think there is a better popcorn that I've ever tasted. I mean, there may be, but I just haven't tasted it, so that's all. It's amazing. Claude Nicholson is another interesting character that is at the market. How'd you like that characterization? Good?
Yeah.
Now, lately I've seen you with, oh my, can you hear that? I don't know whether the listeners the listeners can hear it, but boy, we've got some thunder. lately you've had your bars out there that you've been making. Now that was interesting. Where'd you get that idea?
Well, I've always wanted to make granola bars, and I couldn't find a recipe. So, and I'm promoting aronia berries. So I finally found a recipe that would hold the bars together. So I'm using aronia concentrate with sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, oatmeal, honey.
And they are delicious, by the way.
And yesterday I made some with ground.
I think we're all going to drown before the evening's over. I mean, I can hear it out there.
I made some yesterday with ground aronia berries. They were frozen. I thawed them out and ground them. And it was a flop. But now, so I couldn't figure out what to do with them, so I decided, well, I'm just going to crumble them up and throw them in the dehydrator and dehydrate it. So I've got some here tonight that you can try them.
Yeah, we'll pass them around. We'll let everybody try out these dehydrated aronia berries and see what they think about them. Claude's favorite, he's a aronia fanatic. And where do the aronia berries come from? Mostly Eastern Europe?
No, they're born in the United States. They're native from Mississippi east.
But we haven't grown them until the last few years, really, have we?
The Indians used them for medicine. And then when the pioneers came in, they said, they're astringent. And they had their own medicine. So one of the pioneers came over and took some back to Europe. And Europeans really bred them back up. So now Europeans are all over Eastern Europe. Poland is a hot spot for them.
Aronias,
yeah.
But they're also now becoming, over the last few years, something that a lot of people are getting into replanting, should we say, here?
They're planting, yeah. There's probably, I would guess, in southeast Iowa, there's 20,000 plus bushes. And that's just a guess, but I'm sure that there's that many out there.
Now, do you have anything new or exciting that you're planning to grow this year?
Well, I grew some salsify last year, and so I've already got that planted this year. I grew sunchokes, and they're already planted this year.
Oh, yeah, another crop that has side effects.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Sunchokes, yeah, that's perfect. Now, are you growing your famous cucumbers?
Yeah, I'm going to grow them whenever the weather's fit.
Armenian cucumbers.
Armenian striped cucumbers, yes.
All right, good. We're going to look forward to that very much. Now, one thing I ought to mention is that most of the farmers, I would say most, and correct me if I'm wrong here, most of the farmers at the market either grow organically or certified organic, or they use sustainable methods, or they grow organically but they're not certified, that type of thing. Isn't that correct? Yeah, it is. Most of the farmers, pretty much everybody. So that's great. And one of those is Steve McClaskey from MUM Organic Farms. And you've been, you and Kim have been the greens champions, I think, over the last couple months.
Yeah, we have a nice big greenhouse, so we have lots of greens in the greenhouse.
Oh, he's trying to become the new comedian on the show. That's good. Okay, so Steve, what kind of plans do you have for 2013's farming garden season?
Lots of the usual things. Kale, broccoli, cauliflower. We're going to grow 7 varieties of sweet potatoes this year. We've trialed some the last few years and got some that are really delicious. So we're going to grow them on a larger scale this year so everybody can enjoy them.
Now, can you explain the difference? I don't want to put you on the spot here, but can you explain the difference between sweet potatoes and yams? And garnet yams and...
I sure can.
Great. We'll talk about it next week. No, just kidding.
Long time ago, some growers, sweet potato growers in the South, developed some sweet potatoes that were darker colored, orange, more moist and sweet than the usual sweet potatoes, and they wanted to distinguish them in the marketplace, so they called them yams. That's the only difference. They're a type of sweet potato.
So it's the same family?
Same species. They're just different types of sweet potatoes.
So, is there any nutritional difference? Significant nutritional difference between the white and the orange, and that type of thing.
Yeah, the darker colored sweet potatoes would have more beta carotene, the vitamin A. But true yams are not grown in this country. They're grown in Africa. They're another large root crop that people eat, but they're not at all related to sweet potatoes.
So the true American sweet potato is what?
There's lots of sweet potatoes.
But is it the white guy? Is it the white one, that we see?
Well, the white ones are one type. And
You won't be pinned down, will you?
I mean, how can you say that one is a true type? I mean,
Well, I guess what I meant was, is there a variety that was indigenous to the States, or did they come from somewhere else?
They're tropical crops, so they didn't come from the United States. They came from probably South America.
Very interesting. I mean, I love sweet potatoes. They're great. And some people like the more sweet ones, like the orange ones that you're talking about, and others like the white ones. But whatever it is, sweet potato fries, man, that is so, so good. Now, we're going to change the subject just a little bit, because we're going to move to somebody who actually does something a little bit different than growing. Kathleen Skagen actually makes some beautiful pottery things that are at the market. And this is another aspect of our market. We don't just have growers there, but we have craftspeople of all kinds that are there. So, Kathleen, how did you get the inspiration to make your mugs?
A little bird told me.
What variety of bird was that?
It was a cardinal. And she told me it would be a good idea to make the Buy Fresh, Buy Local mugs.
So buy fresh, buy local mugs. I think those are great. If we're going to eat fresh local food, we should be drinking out of a buy fresh, buy local mug, right?
That is correct. And I make everything Buy Fresh, Buy Local with the logo on my ware.
And do you make anything other than mugs?
Yes, I make everything between a mug and a dinnerware set, and everything in between: vases, condiment dishes.
Whatever it is. And is it all hand-thrown pottery, too?
Yes, it is.
That's wonderful. So we have a lot of craftspeople at the market, people who are making utensils, and it's great. It makes for a nice variety to be able to be at the market and to see all these wonderful things. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. That's great. Now, here I want to introduce you to two individuals who are doing something very interesting and unique in our community, and that is that they are growing some magnificent tomatoes in the middle of the winter. And that is just crazy. Bob and Dixie Merritt from Tenco Tomatoes. And we have them here for, wow. Jason, you have just stunned me. I mean, I'm sorry, changing the subject, everybody's going, what in the world is he talking all of a sudden? But I'm looking at the salad that you've created. It's absolutely beautiful. So we'll get to that salad in just a minute here. But Bob and Dixie, sorry. I was so overwhelmed with the tomatoes, I couldn't take it. But I just, when I saw those tomatoes for the first time, actually Kim Keller told me about them, and then I looked and I was like crazy, and then I bit into the black one. I guess is that what you call it? Is it black tomato? Black cherry, right? And I was like, wait a minute, what month is this? This must have been in February or March, one of the two. And it was like eating the most delicious summer tomato, quite extraordinary.
They are. We have a variety of tomatoes that we are growing hydroponically here in Fairfield, and we have our what we call grape tomatoes, black cherry tomatoes, golden orange cherry tomatoes, and we also have our large beefsteaks.
And they were so nice to bring samples for everybody to try. If you haven't tried them, you're just going to go crazy when you do try them. Now, Bob, where did the idea come from to grow these tomatoes? Wait. Was it a bird? It was and if it was a cardinal,
Similar. It was our executive director.
That's a big bird.
We followed this guy all over the country, but we first did this in Midland, Texas. And we built about 3 greenhouses down there, and then he relocated to Ottumwa and called somebody and said, come on up. So here we are back in Iowa. But we started this, and you're lucky I can't talk too much because I got little chest problem, but we've started this, and hopefully it'll go. And we're planning to build bigger. This is just the beginning.
Well, that's fantastic. And I think one of the most unique aspects of the whole thing is who you employ to actually work these tomatoes.
What we do at Tenco is we provide paid work opportunities to people with disabilities. The folks that are working out in our greenhouse are folks that have physical and mental disabilities. They are the ones that help plant the tomatoes. They are the ones that help pick the tomatoes. They're the ones that package the tomatoes, put the logos on, and help sell them. So they're very proud of what they're doing, and they very well should be.
Really, it's they're out. Anybody here had any of these tomatoes? Because they're really a couple people. Okay, so yeah, we didn't bring anything for you though. You can't have any, Rose. No, they're really terrific. Now, what are your plans for? I'm interested. Like, how does this evolve as the summer starts coming along here?
Well, we still plan on. We are doing some green peppers or red peppers. Red peppers. They are very, very slow, but we did do some cucumbers, which did very well. We are looking at maybe planting some more cucumbers, working hopefully the red peppers will be done, and we will continue with the tomatoes.
So, and this, as you said, this is all done hydroponically, and the other crops are also hydroponic?
Yes. Yes, they are.
And whose idea was that, the little bird, the executive director's idea also?
Right. That was all his idea, and then...
Mine was the cucumbers, though. Mine was the cucumbers.
And is it a trade secret as to what goes into the hydroponic solution?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
He can tell you better on that one.
Most everything's natural. I mean, there's iron, calcium, magnesium, everything that comes out of the soil. A lot of our stuff comes from Salt Lake City. So, it's all natural. I know a lady in Texas said, "How do we get them so sweet?" And I said, "Well, I sprinkle sugar on the plants." And she said, "You better sprinkle a little on yourself."
Well, that's not very nice.
But it's pretty interesting, and if anybody'd like to come out and see the operation, just give us a call, and we're there every day. So we'd be glad to give anybody a little tour that would like one.
Yeah, that sounds great and really, really, really delicious. I'm wondering also, I want to talk for a minute to our librarian, because Rebecca Johnson, you have some interesting news about a project that the library might actually participate in or is going to participate in.
Right. I want to invite everyone, first of all, to our Family Garden Day. It's coming up April 30, and we have local experts who are showing local residents how to do things like aquaponics, beekeeping. We have composting. We have a new children's community garden where kids can participate in starting seedlings at home and then bringing them to the community garden. We also have a booth on rain barrels, one on microgreens, one on what am I forgetting? We have some garden short videos that are going to play in rotation that day. So that's Tuesday, April 30, and it runs from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And it's free. So when you walk in, pick up your little passport, get it stamped as you go around to the different booths, and at the end you can turn it in for a chance to win some great gardening prizes at the front desk. Second thing I wanted to mention is that Seed Savers Exchange is now developing seed libraries across the state, and we've been asked whether we would like to become a seed library. The idea behind this is that they would jumpstart it by giving us some packets of seeds that we would barcode and put into the collection, so you could search the library's catalog for Italian heirloom tomatoes, for example, and then you would see that we have this many copies, and you would check one out, take it home, try growing some of these tomatoes, and if you're successful, then you would attend a workshop or two and learn how to save those seeds, put a supply back into the packet, and return it to the library 6 months later. So there would be a 6-month loan period on this, and we're just trying to feel things out and see whether the community would be interested in having us become a seed library. I'd appreciate a show of hands. If you think this would go over well in Fairfield and you want us to try this experiment.
I'd say this about everybody.
Looks like almost everyone. So we'll look into that, and I'll make an announcement at another Great Taste.
That's terrific. Yeah, I hope that happens. Jan, tell us a little bit about Seed Savers Exchange.
Oh, Seed Savers Exchange is awesome. They've been around for a long time. Their main thing, why they call it an exchange, is they publish a large, about a 2-inch thick catalog of mostly heirloom and saved seeds. And several people in the room here went up with us last winter when we visited, and they have huge banks, coolers, rooms larger than the club room here, full of 5-gallon buckets of seeds of every different kind. And every year they take a few out and make sure that they'll still germinate, but they're held at a really careful temperature and humidity, and it's just an incredible asset to the whole state. Really.
I think they have like over 700 varieties of apple trees even growing on the property.
They do. It's a large property, and they have some heirloom beef. Cattle as well, and the gardens are all kind of spread out with trees between them and hills between them so that they don't cross-pollinate. So they're original heirloom varieties. They're not hybridized at all, and so the seeds will continue to be the same year after year as long as we don't get a bird carrying pollen way far away.
I hope it's not that same little bird that's been whispering all these ideas. You're listening to Great Taste on KRUU 100.1 FM, the solar-powered voice of Fairfield, Iowa, though we're certainly not solar-powered right now with all the rain that's coming down here. Bob Schrum, did you have a question?
Well, I was one of the people who went with Jan on the group, and I was just going to say it's a great tourism destination. They have more than 400 acres. You could tour the property. They take immaculate care of the property. They have PR people answering questions. It's just a great weekend.
And that's in Decorah?
Yes.
Okay, Decorah is a beautiful place too, so that's really, really nice. Now, while we've been doing the show, we've had an amazing salad being built here, and we're having a raw kale salad. Do you want to tell us a little bit, Jason? Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you did over here, and have you tasted it yet to see how it tastes?
No, not yet. I haven't tasted it yet.
Okay, and you haven't dressed it yet.
Nope.
So it's an undressed salad at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a PG show, so make sure you dress it before we serve it. All right. Sure. Now, okay. So you may have to find yourself a little bit bigger container to get the dressing on there, but we'll let you work it out. But it looks gorgeous. And so what's on there?
We have 3 types of kale. We have cherry tomatoes from our local farmer here. We have feta, and then we have a julienne onion on top, and then we're going to be putting oil on top for the dressing.
And fresh lemon juice, right?
Yes, and that's already in there as well.
And salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper.
Beautiful. So salt, pepper, shallot, fresh lemon juice, and I brought some absolutely wonderful Bariani olive oil from California because I thought that everybody might enjoy having that on here. So, and we've got 3 types of kale from the MUM greenhouse. So that's going to be one of the major treats that we're going to have.
Okay, I have one more event that I want to plug before we go. For the Eco Fair weekend.
We're not going anywhere.
Okay, good. Saturday, April 27th, they're doing Farmscape. Has anybody here ever heard of Farmscape? It's Mary Swanders, poet laureate from Iowa. She worked at Iowa State and a whole book. Steve, you don't know about this either? I figured you would know. Okay. She wrote a whole book. Her students went out to farmers throughout Iowa in the 1980s, and interviewed farmers to find out what they're doing. And that was kind of farm crisis time in Iowa. And so interviewed a number of different families. And so Farmscape became a book that's been published, and now it's a reading that they do with the poet laureate involved in it and with pictures of farming in Iowa over the years, actually a whole century of farming in Iowa in the pictures. And so it's a really, really interesting reading. There'll be 2 or 3 people that will be a couple and their son and another single guy who's a farmer. And so it's a really well done kind of speech thing that we do. And it takes us through a couple generations of farming and into farming fast, from the old farming slow like my grandparents did into farming fast like we did in the 80s and 90s, and now into the changing world of farming. And so that would be a really interesting thing for everybody, especially farm market people, to see. It's Saturday, April 27th at 3 o'clock at the Sondheim in the Cambridge room, and that room only holds 50 people, so get there on time or you won't have a seat.
And we actually have one of the actors in Farmscape who's here. So what are you going to be doing, Rose?
Well, I'll be playing Daphne, who owns a bed and breakfast.
What?
Well, I don't have much to say about it yet.
Okay, well, we'll catch you when you have a larger role in your next production. So now, Jan wants to talk about something else. Okay.
I'm just the one tonight, aren't I? Okay, we got 3 farm tours this summer. The first one is the 4th of July on a Thursday, July the 4th, and most of the farmers that are sitting on the front row there are going to be in that one. There are 12 different farms involved, and it'll be a little bit of everything from dairy to meat to produce, and we're going to go down to Ernie Hinkle's farm. Do you know Ernie? He's
I do, yes.
Yeah, this might be the last year. We keep saying that this might be the last year, but he has a beautiful orchard, and so we're going to be down at Ernie's farm and Kim's and Claude's and Steve's and Barb's, and so there'll be a lot of farms that we'll be going through. That's the 4th of July on the Thursday the 4th, and that evening we're selling tickets for a really nice white tablecloth dinner at Masdam Barns, which is right here on the edge of town, and that'll be a beautiful venue to have sweet corn and watermelon on the 4th of July. So we're kind of excited about that. The next one then is the J40 Crawl, which is in southern Van Buren County. That's been going on for several years before I ever got here. Goes through Amish country. There are a couple of farm market vendors that live and work down there. Robert Yoder, that does a lot of our baking of our grilling of the burgers on Saturday mornings. His farm is on that one. And there's a wonderful breakfast at the little Amish, what? Joe. Oh, it's not Robert? Oh, I thought Robert did it too. Okay, Joe Lineker. All right. Robert, I think, does it in Kim's. Yeah, but he does it at Kim's.
Okay, guys, you can have this discussion later. We're trying to do a radio show here.
Thanks, Steve. Keep me on track.
There's Yoders everywhere, too. So
I know. Millers and Yoders, yeah. Okay, and then the third one is the weekend after, the Sunday after Labor Day. There's Labor Day's on a Monday, and it's the Sunday after, I think it's the 8th or 9th. 8th, and Barb is on that one, and that one is north of town, up to Sigourney and the Wooden Wheel Winery and Keota, and then down through Barb's place. Steve's will probably be on that one as well. So that's one that we did last year. We called it Savor the Flavor. There's a couple of really flavorful farms on that one. An herb farm, the Engman's herb farm that's certified organic, is on that one too. So 3 big farm tours this year. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Barb forgot that we can't hear her when we're standing back here. But if there was anything important, I can come over and talk to you. You know, nothing. Okay, so that's great. So one of the other things I was wondering about was, could you tell everybody just another farmer? I mean, there's so many people that are not here, but one of the people that I'm thinking about is our wonderful family from Sigourney, because they have a lot of great stuff that they bring to the market, and they're very unique also because they grow so many different varieties of garlic.
Yeah, like 80 varieties of garlic and 280 heirloom tomatoes. Huge variety of things on 23 acres right on the edge of town. It's a really unique farm and a really beautiful one. They have boys that have been helping with the farm, and as they go off to college, they don't know what to do with the labor force. They also have honey on that farm, and so that's a really neat one. It's kind of on the edge of that tour, and so we were afraid nobody would go over there. So last year we had the pizza lady, Julie Stutzman, brought her horse trailer with a big stone pizza oven in it, and she made the Margarita local food pizzas in the back of the horse trailer all day. And
I thought you said she was making margaritas in the back of the horse trailer.
Margarita pizzas, Steve. So yeah, she made them in the back of the horse trailer and sold them to people. So a lot of people went up there for lunch and had her really good homemade pizzas and visited that farm. And usually the Websters have free raspberry pie for public.
So stay tuned, and we'll find out more about that. That'll be terrific. Boy, oh boy, I'll tell you, this just keeps making me hungrier and hungrier, and I'm so excited as we get further along into the into the season, and more stuff comes out. And Jason, I just wanted to ask you, have you tasted it now?
No, I haven't yet. I'm going to taste it now.
You have to taste your food before you serve it to anybody because it's very, very important. Now, one thing I noticed, I'm not trying to be critical here, but we're going to hope that the kale leaves that Steve McClaskey brought us are very tender because you didn't cut these up very, very small. So I'm just going to, I'm hoping that, otherwise everybody's going to get a good exercise, which is great. They are very tender. So it's really nice. We're also going to make some popcorn because we talked about popcorn. So we're going to do that, but we're going to wait till the show's over to do that. Really, really good, Jason. Very funny, Tom. I don't know if anybody heard that, so I'm not going to repeat it. That's for sure. All right, now I have a couple of things that I want to mention because we had so much fun last week with Chef Matt Steigerwald. It was just great, and very excited to tell everybody that on May the 2nd, so this is important because it's a Thursday, not a Wednesday. We will not have the show on Wednesday, May 1st, but on May the 2nd, we're going to have Chef Sam Owen here from Taco Apocalypse in Des Moines. And I just want to tell you that if you love tacos, you've never had tacos like are served at Taco Apocalypse. You might imagine what they're like with a name like that, but Sam is quite a fascinating character, and his tacos, it's just fun with taco time. So that's what we're going to do, and that's on May the 2nd at 7 p.m. live at Hy-Vee. I guarantee you it's a definite show not to miss. Absolutely delicious. And there'll be all kinds of different tacos, actually. He has fun with tacos. No live show. I'm going to make this, doesn't matter our radio audience, but I'll make this announcement. No live show next Wednesday, as I will be out of town doing some food research. So I'll be glad to report on it when I come back. All right. Any questions for any of the farmers that we have here? Anybody growing anything really exciting and new that they want to tell us about that they didn't grow last year and they want to just say, oh wow, you've got to have that. And another thing that while you're thinking about that, if there's anything that's coming up, one of the other things that I was going to mention was that at the market too, there are all kinds of not just green things to eat, but also all kinds of other things. People sell chocolate at the market. All kinds of individual creativity is expressed there, and that's great. And I think that's different because some farmers markets. Let's talk a little bit about some of the rules. Can people bring produce in that they buy from somebody else, for example?
We have a certified locally produced program, which is a program that all the vendors. We changed it to all vendors now have to be inspected. That would be all crafters, woodworkers, if they're knitting or whatever, but they need to kind of like prove that they're making their product by hand or growing their product. So they need to fill out a audit application, and then we have a committee that will either come to your business or your farm and inspect, and then you'll get a certificate that says that you're a certified locally produced vendor.
And that's terrific because that gives everybody who comes to the market an opportunity to really support local growers then.
So if you're a food vendor and you have to be inspected by the state, so we probably wouldn't be coming to your home to inspect you, but if you're a crafter or a produce vendor, we will be inspecting everyone this year.
Mm-hmm. Same goes with livestock. So any meat or anything, everything has to be locally produced or grown.
So locally produced or grown to be at the market?
To sell at our market. That's our rule this year. We're changing it to where everybody is.
Oh, okay. So I'm glad you made that distinction because last year it was kind of like a badge of honor in a sense. Anybody who had certified local produce, they had this little certificate. But now we can be assured that everybody who's there is going to be a local grower.
Right. It's just going to ensure the customer that they're getting the product that, it's not shipped in and it's, handmade by the person. And our market is all the counties connected to it. That's the vendors that can sell at our market. So if you live in Des Moines, you can't sell at our market because that county is not connected to us. So.
Well, I wouldn't be afraid to take their money, but that's fine. No, it's great because it's all certified local, which is wonderful.
Right.
And some of the really great things that we offer that are not food related. Last year we had soaps, lotions. Also, there's a lot of people that sell, well, a couple of people that sell fine beaded jewelry, and a couple of people who make toys from recycled materials and who also make clothing from recycled materials, and a lady who makes her own clothing and scarves and other things that you might want to wear. And there's a variety of wooden crafters, and the amount of handmade, handcrafted, homemade, unique variety is really beautiful.
It is really terrific. Tom, Alan, do you have another song that you're going to play for us? Because
Well, I got a
if you
little
do,
thing,
I want to
really,
hear about it. Come this way.
It's exactly for this time of year, and it's something that I wrote. It's called "Hey the Day," and it's short and it's kind of for kids, but you got a kid in you, right? So.
That's absolutely correct.
Did you see how I changed the midstreet? You gotta do something, but you got a kid in you. So.
I missed that, Tom.
You did?
Okay. Yeah. I'll try to pick it up next time.
Okay, there we go. This is "Hey, the Day is Underway." I wrote it when I worked in the summer camp last summer. Hey, the day is underway. Why don't we go out and play? How the sun is in the sky. Everything's shaking. Why don't I? Jay is calling, Wren is chirping, Robin answers from a tree. Porcupines are poking people, snakes are sliding, why don't we? Buds are popping, bunnies are hopping, nothing's stopping you and me. Brook is flowing, wind is blowing, I'm a-going up to sea. Hey, the day is underway, why don't we go out and play? The sun is in the sky, everything's shaking, why don't I?
Yeah. Just because no one knows what I mean, Rose Wagger's going to make the popcorn, and now she's going to run out the door after I said that, I'm sure.
What about prepared foods at the market? Is that the same movement? They don't have their food locally to make it?
They don't have to buy the food locally to make it, but they do have to make it at the market, and that goes under the health inspection code. It has to be prepared at the market under a food license. You can't just come and make something and sell it.
Yes. Good.
All right. One last thing I want to talk to Jan Swinton about before we get to our popcorn and our kale salad. I think I just wanted to mention that you are working on your greenhouse project. How's that going?
I am. It's changed locations. We're behind Shaw's Voorhees and behind the Melville Iron building, kind of back in the parking lot. And I actually just talked to the greenhouse guy today. Our equipment is mostly in. We're the final details that we're dealing with are liability and safety issues with the company. We want to make sure that nobody's going to have a problem there. But what we're doing is taking heat that's cast off from a company and we're dropping it into a 1,000-gallon water tank underground, and then we're going to disperse that heat back into the greenhouse all winter. We're going to grow cherry tomatoes and lettuce greens.
Oh, a little competition for Tenco.
Actually, it's not competition for anybody. We're selling it all straight to the schools, and so I've been going around to the schools and finding out what they want and what we can do, and mostly what they want is lettuce greens. And if we can get them local and all winter long, that's what they want. That's what they need.
That's terrific, and that's all part of a $100,000 grant that Jan won, actually.
Yay!
You've been listening to Great Taste by Jan. Delicious Radio.